All right, we're here with Cody Rhodes on SportingNews.com. Cody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're a few days away from All In. After all the planning, all the work, everything, what are your thoughts now that we're literally just days away?
I try to stack the weeks so that I can get the most done production-wise in the last 2 weeks, so that when we get to here in this moment, I can just be excited. I'm putting everything into this. There's so many parties that have helped and put stuff into this, and so many, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen on this one, but they're master chefs. And this will be the biggest thing I ever do, whether I was ever out there in the ring or not. And I don't want to diminish the importance of the NWA World Championship. It's been important for 39 years in my family. But as far as planning the show and executive producing the show, big deal.
Now, you hinted at it a little bit.
Yeah.
You and the Bucks, obviously you guys have done a lot of things in this business, but you've never been promoters before.
Sure.
Were there any people you sought out specifically for advice that you want to mention, or any advice?
Sure. Well, we used a lot of in-house people from Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. It's our home promotion. Gary Juster, for example, who I've known since I was a little kid. He's, I guess the market rep, legal here at Ring of Honor, and he was the first person who could make it. You can't just call a building and say, "Hey, I'm Cody Rhodes, and this is Matt and Nick. How much do how much is your rent?" So he helped facilitate that for us, and that was huge. I reached out to a lot of people from my time in WWE, mainly market reps, good guys who I worked with there. And then Joe Koff has been incredibly helpful because he could have shut this all down. We're exclusive to Ring of Honor. This is running in the States. But I like the forward thinking of what he's done by just saying, go for it. And you know what? If you want our world champion or, Ian Riccaboni, but go for it. He sees the potential importance. I'm not going to say this is a game-changing thing. I'm not going to say it's Woodstock for wrestling, but it definitely does have the potential when we wake up September 2nd to be a completely different wrestling world we live in, because this hasn't been done. It hasn't been self-funded, self-promoted, and it hasn't crossed the different borders that you're not supposed to cross. Believe me, we got reamed over CMLL talent and New Japan talent and the non-CML talent. We've crossed some streams that we shouldn't have crossed, but hey, we're just 3 guys. And you know what? We're gonna do it.
You led me right into my next question, was with all these different companies, ROH, New Japan, CMLL, Impact Wrestling has some talent on here. How much, as the guys booking the show and the finishes, do you have to have a conversation with you have different people here with their different talents? Do you have to have...
I guess you're probably supposed to have a conversation.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sorry for anyone who was involved with this show, but I'm going to say it. I don't want to have a Super Clash 3. I want to have an All In. And that means a definitive vision. And the definitive vision is that of the wrestlers. I say all the time how much I love my time in WWE, but WWE doesn't own pro wrestling. It doesn't. Nobody can ever own pro wrestling. And to give a show back to the wrestlers is giving the show back to the fans too. So I'm sure there was all kinds of conversations we weren't supposed to have, and like you said, we're days away, so the phone hasn't stopped ringing. But if you're blind in the fact that you don't see what this does, then you shouldn't be behind the scenes on wrestling in the first place. If you can't see what this could do for wrestlers who want to make a little bit more money, the wrestlers who don't necessarily want to go to WWE but still want to wrestle in front of over 1,000 people. If you can't see that, get out, man. Get out.
Let me ask you specifically about your match, facing Nick Aldis. Obviously, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship has meant a lot to your family.
Yeah.
Dusty, a 3-time champion. 2 of the times, the title that he held was the Replica. It's the belt that. How much does that mean to you, just from a personal standpoint?
You could say it means nothing. I could tell you it isn't important to me what Dusty did, and I wouldn't necessarily be lying. But then if I told you it's so important because of what Dusty did, I also wouldn't be lying. This is one of those where sometimes I go out there for me, and that's what he would have wanted. But every kid who had a good dad wants to, obviously it means a lot to me because he held it. He used to sit on his desk. I literally saw it, you know, and if you could get that in your hands, whether you believe in heaven, hell, or you're indifferent about it, that feeling, that's a connection to him, you know, and I want that.
You've already hinted at possibly a second. I know we haven't had the first one.
Yeah.
Could there possibly be another All-In?
Of course. It depends on what everyone does. Our contracts are all up at the same time. It's public knowledge. It's weird that they're all up at the same time. It's almost serendipitous. We love what we've done in Ring of Honor. We love New Japan Pro Wrestling. I enjoyed my time in WWE. I don't think we want to look at what we're doing until maybe September 2nd and talk about it. But I can tell you this, if we wanted to run another All-In, if we wanted to do All-In 2, I have no doubts we could do it. And I'll just say it, I want to do a stadium. I love the idea that people, it's not anti-WWE, it's pro wrestling. And people should have the choice to see what they want and see a different product, perhaps not a PG product. And as you'll see with All-In, this is a little bit of a different thing.
Let me ask you, we know who's booked for All-In. We know who's not booked. Flip. Although he's all out. He's doing the worst.
You've got a party in the parking lot, though.
And he's got a party in the parking lot. Are there any, and of course I don't want you to tell me, but just are there any
surprises?
Are there going to be some surprises?
Yes, for sure. There'll be some surprises that tug on your heartstrings, and then maybe some big surprises. But I always put in, you know, I always saw All-In as about the present and perhaps the future. You know, definitely we always pay homage to the past. I mean, my whole gimmick is homage to the past, whether I like it or not. But I like to focus on what we have too. You know, there's those cheap pops and those kind of quick grabs in wrestling that they're so easy to do. But why not have two guys, one trying to beat the other, and that be the thing that you invest in? And you know what? If it's no good, the crowd will let you know. You know, but the show's kind of Eric Bischoff told me, he said, make a buffet. Make a buffet. You know, not everybody wants that, but give something for everybody. And I think that's great advice.
So you made some headlines recently. You alluded to the fact all your contracts are up.
Yeah.
And that you, Kenny, the Bucks, Adam Page, want to make a move or not make a move. You want to be in the same place as a family.
Yeah, we're pulling to friends.
Pulling to friends.
Pulling to friends.
Is there any, I know this is like a broad question, but is there any scenario where you can envision you don't end up in the same place?
Of course. It's wrestling.
Right.
Hangman could walk in tomorrow and tell us he's doing this, or I could be the unreliable one. You know? But this is a rare thing that happened where we all clicked. You shouldn't make this many friends in wrestling. I don't know how I made friends with these guys. I like a completely different type of wrestling than they do. But I think the thing that bonds us is a super hard-working crew. And you know, like, when I say hardworking, it's not just about what you do in between the ropes. It's all the elements. What Shawn Michaels once told me, getting over is a full-time job. Those are the guys who understand it, and that's why we've bonded.
I want to ask you about the MSG side.
Yeah.
Now, clearly that show takes place in April.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee any of you guys are going to be with ROH or New Japan Pro Wrestling. But what are your thoughts? Obviously, you guys are a big part of the reason.
Yeah.
That's sold out. What are your thoughts on that? And just if you're not on the show, would it bother you?
I can't necessarily like comment to MSG, but I can say it's amazing that they sold out. So I was super proud of, I don't know proud, but I felt pride for New Japan and for Ring of Honor to be able, it's the world's most famous arena. I listened to The Rock one night say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And it was one of my favorite nights in MSG. But I've got to do a song and dance in MSG. I did a moonsault off the cage, Soul Survivor and a Survivor Series. I had some fun times in MSG. Just, do I want to go back? Sure. Do I know if I'm going back or not? We'll see. But it's definitely, absolutely the most positive thing ever that happened, that sold out.